Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Wolfkin Podcast. I am Ryan, your Farseer fanboys, and I am joined today by Rob, the Tech Priest of Power.
Hey, everybody!
And
How's it going?
Good. We are entering episode 55. 5-5. It's very exciting.
55.
It's exciting. It's two numbers that are the same.
Double nickel.
I don't like nickels.
I
It's
don't
not that
like change.
it's not that they have offended me in the past, but I just don't like how they taste.
Yeah, unless you put them in like the bottom of a shot of scotch, then it kind of.
It helps it go down.
Yeah, let's not go into that part of my past. That's a dark time.
All right, that's exciting. What have you been up to? I see from the Facebook that you've been very busy. What have you been
Yeah,
up to?
I have been plugging away on my heresy stuff. And when I say plugging away, I make it sound like it's been an hour or two here. No, my entire weekend's been dedicated to painting.
Hmm.
I'm currently surrounded by two Demos rhinos that are right now drying with their base coat, and I got another 10-man tactical squad that I started on this morning that are halfway through, and then I've got three Cataphracti fire drakes that I converted with chain fists that turned out awesomely. If anybody saw that on the Facebook group, the experiment went very well. The green stuff flushed it out awesomely, and they look solid.
It's scary.
Yeah, it was something that I found perusing online and I didn't even think about. But the chain fist upgrade for fire drakes costs the same as the thunder hammer, just now you have armor bane.
Hmm.
So you don't want to lose concussive in heresy because it actually will matter with I5 and I6 and I7 Primarchs and Praetors. But having some chain fists are nice because then you're not afraid to go up against dreadnoughts.
Hmm.
So I've just been busy with that, man. What have you been up to?
Well, I got a little bit of the 30K bug, so that's exciting. I'm gonna do wolves as I'm gonna try to play wolves this season, so it made sense that if I was going to build or update my army, I could just kind of put the Bachilla Couth models with it and paint them as pre-heresy and just try to make a cool looking heresy era play in both games type of horse.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
but ain't nobody got time for that, so I hired a guy to
Nice.
build. I do plan on painting it, but I don't know. This is a more recent, like within the last couple of years, and I've complained about it on podcasts several times. But I hate building. Like, tell me to convert something, and I'll sit there and tinker with. I like playing with Legos, but oh man, I do not like building stock models. It's just not fun. It's tedious and boring, and we'll
So
probably talk about it a little bit more. But we got a buddy, Derek, who's starting up a commission painting service called Iron Crane Studios, and he was like, "Yeah, I could build those for you." So I was like, "Absolutely,
thank you so much.
thank you." So
You want to?
he's tagged me in a few of those posts. He's got them all done now, so I'm considering a second box, but the rumors of the next betrayal box are coming out, starting to filter through, so I just don't know. But I'm gonna paint these up and then kind of decide as I go.
Right. And we could, I mean, we can hit on that later with our announcement too on what to do with the Betrayal at Calth and how to kick that off. But,
Mm.
I will plug in there, dude. You complain about building stock models. Wait till you build an entire Forge World army and then you really hate building.
Oh, I won't do it.
Oh, dude. It's it's fun, but it's fun to like pull out the heat gun and fix warp panels and stuff. I do that because like I also like working on cars and stuff, so I'm just kind of like, oh look, that's screwed up,
Hmm.
whoo, toy with it. But it's the I'm also lazy, so the whole like having to take a kit or blister and then having to wash it and then scrub it and then dry it, and then I get to clean it and file off and then get to glue it.
Oh, I've built my share of Forge World, but just not whole armies. Um, I just I wouldn't do it. So I'm
Yeah,
thankful for plastic. Um, while the price, um, is a little bit higher per model. Like if you're just buying straight Forge World versus Games Workshop or even like Bachelor Couch boxes, it's not
Mhm.
significantly more expensive anymore with the way GW's prices have been increasing. Um, but so the barrier to entry for that wasn't really money. It was I don't want to I don't want to do that.
Well, and the other thing for me too, what motivated me, which some people like you're doing with Space Wolves right now, doing like the dual purpose thing. For me, I
Hmm.
already had a 40k Salamanders army,
Sure.
so the vehicles are could be relic and transfer over, but also like this will allow me to take my 40k models that either I wasn't really a huge fan of, but I needed them, or I don't really use anymore. And as I'm building up my Heresy army, I can take some of the 40k stuff and sell it on eBay, so it kind of replenishes the funds and goes back into more Forge World.
Nice.
So it's starting a revolving door. That's kind of what it's doing.
Cool.
So it's yeah, it's pretty rad. But cool, man. So your Betrayal at Calthbox you got built. How long did it take him to do that? Like just a couple days or something?
Well, it was that, and then I don't know how, but I have four Contemptor Dreadnoughts instead of one.
Well,
Um,
I gave you two, didn't I, from the Betrayal at Cal set?
did you give me them? Somebody gave
Yeah.
me them, and then I
No,
had one from a collection that I got.
yeah, I think I gave if I remember right, I at least gave you
I
one. I
know
know
you gave me one.
I think I might have given you the second one because
Okay.
I
Well,
got I got a
you're a
second.
lovely young man. Anyway, I have four. So he did four, cut apart, totally reposed like Contemptors. So not just stock build, and the whole thing with like heavily modding them with Space Wolf bits because I had a whole box of Space Wolf bits that I said, hey, I don't want them to be super adorned, but I do want them to look like they're wolves. So some of them have heads, some of them have pelts and stuff,
Yep.
like wolves would. And that was 2 days. Um, yeah,
Nice.
she's quick, and they're really really well done and based. He based them too, so they've got
Oh, stellar.
sand and rocks and stuff. I'm gonna be painting. I'm gonna be snow bases, original Space Wolves. I'm gonna do snow bases, but I wanted like sand and rocks under it so that you know, you know, to make it cool.
It'd be funny for your basing
Mhm.
because like you just bought all these in the winter, right? So
Mhm.
all these guys get snow bases, but
Mhm.
then like in the summertime, if you buy any more models, then make their bases look summery on Fenris. So
I
so when the models all
don't think
together,
that
it
there's
looks
a
like the
I don't
seasons
think
are
that there's
changing.
a summertime. I think Fenris is kind of like your native land, where the snow doesn't leave.
The snow does too, Lee, just not for very long.
Yeah, going inside doesn't count.
Hey man, you're
So
talking.
what?
I was just saying, you're talking to a guy who's used to 22 hours of sunlight. You just calm down there. We have summer.
All right. So other than that, I haven't really done too much hobby. I've still been tooling around with Space Wolf lists, trying to figure out what to build for 40k for this season. But I was kind of twiddling my thumbs, dragging my toes a little bit because I wanted to wait for the ITC vote results, which we'll be talking about a bit here in a little while. But that's all my hobby. I had a guy hobby for me.
Nice. Hey man, as long as it gets done, that's all that matters. That's all that really matters. As long as you play painted and it's representing, and that's all that really matters. And I guess I mean talking on the wolves, I guess we can use that and go into our games played, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So
Why don't you take us there?
so I'll take you to a land of Ryan and I playing a few games of Zone Mortalis.
Mm.
So we actually before that I played a game of Zone Mortalis against Derek and his Emperor's Children. I believe we played 500 points, and I brought, a unit of troops, a unit of Pyroclasts, which are my Super Flamer guys. Brought a Praetor with just, Thunderhammer, Mastercrafted, and then that was pretty much it for War Gear. And yeah, it was a two-turn game. But to be fair, though, he was kind of limited with what he had, and I just told him just to bring whatever he had, and so he brought in two units of Cacophony, which have the Sonic Blasters, or not Sonic Blasters, they're uh,
There's
They're
sound weapons.
like the cacophony or whatever. I think that's what they're called. But anyways, they're heavy weapons. And in Zone Mortalis, it's a very mobile game. So every time he moved, he was like, and now I'm hitting on sixes. And I was like, yep, and here comes my flamer squads. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
So, but
I don't
then
think you're actually sorry though.
no, I'm
But
not. I love burning heretics.
okay.
Um,
But what about me? We're brothers.
uh, we'll consider that a war game. How's that sound? That was just a
Okay.
scenario. Like
All right.
the wolves found out that they couldn't quite execute the salamanders that day. That's. So we played a game.
Yeah. Two games.
Uh, two games in one day. We played basic 40k rules for Zone Mortalis. We didn't go too far into it. We did the encounter and the assault missions, and then we both brought attacker and defender lists, and we rotated them.
Yeah.
We did play with the Cold Void rules, but we used them like night fighting. So I was on a 4-up. We had Cold Void just to make it easier because their night fighting version of rules is really it made the games take a lot longer. And just kill points. We didn't bother with objectives and stuff. So before we get into it, we ran a very simplistic version of Zone Mortalis because Ryan, this was your first step into 30k.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to muddy the waters with a bunch of 40k rules. I wanted to just have our units do stuff so you can see the differences in it.
Sure.
So we just did straight kill points, and our lists were pretty even in kill point numbers and stuff. But let's talk about our first game. So what did you bring on your first list?
Okay. Let me pull it up. I brought a Praetor because you have to, because that's it's like their HQ guy, like right, like their standard.
Yeah. So Praetors you usually cannot bring under 1,000 points. It has to be 1,000 points more to bring a Praetor.
Okay.
And when you bring a Praetor, obviously they're 4 attack, 3 wound monsters.
Yep.
But they also give you an option to have Rite of Wars,
Right.
which you can take one to get the boons and the cons of built that way.
Yeah. So we
Um,
were playing 1,000 points.
so
Yes.
yep. So it opened up the options for Praetors.
Yeah. So I played a Praetor, with a plasma pistol and a power fist, digital lasers, and iron halo. Um, he was cool, but he got wrecked. He got.
Well, let's go through the rest of your list, though,
Okay.
because we'll explain how that happened.
I had two 10-man tactical squads with a sergeant with a power fist, 5-man tactical support squad with flamers. Yeah, flamers. A contemptor dreadnought with the Carus pattern assault cannons, two of them, and a 5-man heavy support squad with missile launchers.
So off the bat, now that you even just said that, you never put your contemptors on the board. So there's that. I think that's why that game turned out. It was a very bloody game.
I didn't play with the contemptor.
No, you didn't. You never had your contemptors on the board.
Oh, I'm gonna go look at the pictures.
Yeah, go look at the pictures. That's that's really funny because I was like, man, this is a really small 1,000 point list, but I didn't know what you gave for warrior. Oh, that's funny. So this game was really short and very brutal. I tabled you.
Yeah.
I brought my list. That's so funny. That's funny that we're just now figuring that out too. So I brought a Praetor with a Thunderhammer, Mastercrafted, digital lasers, Iron Halo, and I believe Mantle of the Elder Drake, which gives me Eternal Warrior. And then I brought two 10-man tactical squads, with the Mastercrafted Power Fist in each and Artificer Armor. I brought a Bare Bones Contemptor with a Multi-Melta. He also had a Heavy Flamer in his fist. And then I brought a 5-man Pyroclast squad with just the Flamers, no other upgrades. Oh, and I had a 5-man Flamer squad too. I did too. I also had a 5-man Flamer squad. So basically, we played. I believe that was in Assault, where we had the 4 quarters of the table cut up.
Yep.
I was as far up to my corner as I possibly could, and positioned my Contemptor, Flamer, and Pyroclast squads to be the vanguard. Which they basically did exactly that. They moved forward and just started burning stuff, and then my Contemptor got in combat with the squad that your Praetor had, and
Messed it up.
Yeah, tore it up. But it was funny because your Flamer squad, even though it was -1 strength because of my Legion special rule against my guys, your Flamer support squad was actually tearing me up. I mean, they killed
They were
my
my yeah, they were my MVP of
yeah, I
that
mean
list.
they killed my 5-man Flamer squad, and then they went off and killed 4 more of my tacticals before I finally got them.
Yep.
So that was pretty awesome, winning on fives, but with shred for Zone Mortalis. But yeah, it was a really short game. But now that we just found out that you had 2 contenders with carries, that would have changed a
No, it was just
lot.
one. Just one.
Well, remember we rolled on that game. We rolled a 4 up, and we did get Cold Void. So you
Right.
would have had a strength 6 carries assault cannons that were running on fives and sixes.
That'd have been fun.
That would have wrecked my dreadnought. So,
It's all right.
uh,
It's all right. I,
so
I I think you used some kind of mind trick on me to help me make me forget what I was supposed to be bringing.
well, here I go thinking that you were a competitive 40K player and you're on top of your list, but I could be wrong.
Oh, I'm
Oh.
far from that. I just play one on TV.
So first game is Unmortalis 30K. What were your thoughts on that?
It was brutal. But yeah, Zone Mortalis requires you to play a little bit differently. I didn't really plan ahead with the missile launchers. You offered to let me change them to plasma guns, but I was like, oh, I played the missile launchers because I built the list, and they were okay. They shot some stuff. They killed a thing, but that was yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's because if you're not familiar with Unmortalis and you're not familiar with 30K, it's like a really big hindrance to give yourself heavy weapons because you're always having to move. Movement's really important. You don't have opening fire in lanes like you do in 40K. So that's why I was like, well, hey man, they were already late. They came in what, like turn 3?
Yeah.
I was like, if you want to, just give them plasma guns. That way you can actually move and do what you need to do. But no,
No,
that's cool.
but it was good. It was interesting.
Second game though was funny.
The second game was funny.
That was a funny game. So second game, I played Defender, and in that list, I had a Praetor loaded out the exact same way as I did before, except I didn't have Mantle of the Elder Drake, so I did not have Eternal Warrior on him. And I had a 5-man Fire Drake Terminator squad, all with Thunder Hammers, um, which that game actually is what made me lead up to looking into the Chain Fist thing. 5-man Pyroclast with a Power Fist mastercrafted on the Warden in that squad. And then I had a 20-man blob of tacticals with a Power Fist Sergeant in it. What did you have in your list?
Well, this was the first list that I built, um, and I was sitting next to Derek when I was building it, and we were just kind of giggling because the rules for was I attacking?
Yeah, you were the
Okay,
attacker in
so the
this thing.
rules for attacking was that I didn't need a troop. I could use elite. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 1
Okay.
HQ when he leads for
Yeah,
compulsory. Compulsory.
compulsory. So I played the same Praetor because I had him built, and then I played 4 Contemptor Dreadnoughts. I had 2 of them were the Karis Assault uh, cannons, twin link or double, and then what is it? Mortis pattern, yeah.
Yep.
And then I had a Mortis pattern multi-melta one, and then I had a close combat one with what was in his fists? Plasma plasma blasters, and
Yep.
that was it. Four dreadnoughts. I
So,
took a page right out of Pete's book.
yep. That was actually a really March of the Ancients. That's a really interesting list to go up against, but I actually didn't do too bad on that one. No, it was pretty cool. I think the most memorable points in that were your close combat dread charging my pyroclasts, and they had those strength 6
Ugh,
focus beam melting shots.
I was so
And
salty.
yeah, I got a couple of hits and then
In
2 pen
Overwatch or
in
whatever it's called.
Overwatch. Yep, yep. I got a glance and a pen. Your antimanic shielding saved the glance. It didn't save the pen, so I
And
go
then
ahead
you
and roll the
blew me
result.
up.
I blew you up, and I was like, I'm so sorry.
He blew me up, and oh my gosh, it was so
Oh,
frustrating.
and
But
insult to injury. Remember, you fired your plasma blasters at me, and my
hmm
and my pyroclast get a 5-up invul against plasma, and
hmm
I made my invul save. So
yeah,
even
okay.
then, it didn't.
So here's another thing. I built my list with flamers that against his army are -1 strength, and plasma, which against his army he gets invul saves. Is like, what is going on? Every model that I brought, he was like, "Oh yeah, I get this thing against that gun."
Well, the plasma invul thing is only for the pyro class. I get that. They're the
Uh-huh.
only ones I get. That's just their special rule. And if I brought Covenant of Fire Rite of War, then that carries over to my vehicles as well. My vehicles get those invul saves.
It's crazy.
It's
Um,
heresy.
but yeah, the dreadnoughts were fun. They're dreadnoughts, so they killed stuff and then they got killed.
Yeah, my fire drakes made it into combat. What was funny though is like, you know, I told like you're about to charge your Praetor into my fire drakes, and I was like, hey man, there's that 20-man tactical squad over there. Like you should probably charge them. And you're like, what? Why? And I go, just do it. Trust me. So you charged them. You killed 3 of them, and it was in a corridor where my power fist was in the far back. So even with consolidation, I couldn't get my power fist in to get at them. So you killed 3. I made my leadership. We go into your turn. The combat continues. Of course, you kill 4 more. I break. You outrun me. Wipe out the squad. Hide away.
Yeah.
And then my fire drakes come around the corner. You pop out, charge me. And the first charge, you killed my remaining fire drakes. I retaliate. I do no wounds back to you. Next turn, we both fight each other, and at the same time,
Yeah, we swung. It was the, identical swing knockout moment where we both died at the same time. It was pretty funny.
yeah, we both died at the same time. Neither side had anything left on the board. It was
Yep.
awesome.
We tabled each other. So from that, I took Horus Heresy is very bloody. Um, it feels like playing against a legion that has rules with the vanilla, the kind of Space Wolf rules aren't out yet. So it feels like playing against a legion with rules with a legion that doesn't have rules. A little bit of a disadvantage because I don't have any special troops or anything. But I gotta dig into the rights of war and stuff and see what I can do to kind of overcome those deficits. But it's cool.
Yep.
I'm into it.
And I'll say too, it was kind of in hindsight, it was kind of unfair that I even brought Legion specific units. What I really should have done was for your first game, really should have just said, hey, bring the Pride of the Legion Rite of War, bring veteran tactical squads. I'm going to do the same, and let's just go through the dynamics. If we would have played that way, it would have been a way different game.
Hmm.
Um, I think with me having as many options to units that I have actually painted and ready to go compared to what you have, kind of gave me an advantage. That, and you're not familiar with the legions like I am either. So that was a biased game, but even with it being heavily lenient towards me in favor, you still did really well. It's just you have, Heresy is very much, a 40K game, but it plays completely different than the 40K you're used to, and you have to get that in your head like I have to try to kill him and I'm going to lose a lot of stuff.
Yep.
You know, that's just it's awesome.
Yep.
Bloody.
But to get over those crushing defeats, later in the week, somebody asked, one of my buddies asked if I wanted to play a 500-point game because he wanted to try out uh, the Let's Start Collecting Space Wolves formation.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, sure. So we played 500 points, and I brought 5, 4, 9, 12. I brought 13 jet bikes and a Hornet,
Hmm.
and I shot him off the board before he could hit me, just because I'm a jerk.
that's so mean.
No, his Wolf Lord actually did get into combat with my Farseer's unit on bikes, but they slapped him to death because for the life of him he couldn't roll a 3 to hit or a 2 to wound.
Wow.
It was pretty sad. But yeah, so
Sometimes
I
sometimes
was
you
a
just get
bad man.
diced.
I was bad. It was funny.
Yeah, sometimes you just get diced and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
that's games played. Did you play anything else?
No, I think it'll be safe. It's safe to say as of right now and probably till about April, I'll probably be pretty heresy heavy. So there's just been heresy games.
Yeah. Oh, and you can't come to the tournament this week, can you?
Nope, I got that Friday evening message of, hey, you're getting on a plane Monday morning. You'll be gone. Okay, thanks.
Such a jerk.
It's what pays the bills, though.
No?
The cocaine does that, but
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's take a quick break and then we'll go into the ITC vote stuff.
Sounds good.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Hello, my name is Morgan Freeman. When I'm not making amazing movies, I listen to the Wolfkin podcast, the best 40K podcast in the world ever. Alright, guys, I said it. Now, about my money.
And we are back. Welcome. Welcome friends. I know you missed us. That commercial break was excruciatingly long and I apologize. But we have to pay the bill somehow.
Yep.
And playing that, puts my daughter through college. So we got to do what we got to do.
It helps me, buy more Forge World. So.
Yeah, and you don't want to see the Sarah McLaughlin video of Rob not having Forge World. It's terrible and sad.
My mascara runs really bad.
So we wanted to talk. So we wanted to talk about the last week's recent ITC vote for the upcoming season, the 2016 season. Unfortunately, all the results are not in yet. It got delayed till Monday, and we
Yep.
record on Sunday. But we do have an update from Reese that gives us a chunk of the results, and we will talk about that.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
the first one is the point ruling that I was really interested in. Apparently, it was by a landslide that 1850 is still going to be the standing point value for all big events.
Right. So you could tell, and Reese Reese, I don't know if Frankie agreed with him. I can't remember, but Reese really wanted the points to change, and there were blog posts on his page and blog posts on Bella Lost Souls, and it was pretty heavy-handed that they wanted it to go down, and they were trying to tell you why 1650 or 1500 was better. Um, for what it's worth, I voted to lower the points to 1650 because I wanted to see what that would do to kind of mix up the meta. I would just like, hey, cool, a breath of fresh air. That would be
Yep.
interesting. But their arguments for why they wanted to change them, I think they were a little bit flawed. So their main argument was no one likes games going to time, right? That's true, absolutely. But um, they said, but them saying changing the points by 200 or 250 um,
That's
would fix that.
no.
That's the fallacy, I think, because and I was saying this before. If I don't want to get past turn 2 or turn 3 in a tournament, it doesn't matter if we're playing 2,000 points or 200 points. We won't get past that if their TOs aren't going to DQ me.
So, on that, you're correct. Even with a drop in 200 points, that's only a unit or an
Mm-hmm.
allied detachment, because sometimes that'll hinder your list. But here's one thing I will say on the whole, DQ thing and stuff, because the argument was, what are we going to do to people who pay lots of money to go to a tournament and are playing slow? There's no real way we can really prove that, and how can we DQ them? We're not going to qualify somebody to spend a lot of money. Actually, if they were playing in the narrative event, I would totally agree. If you were playing a narrative event of any kind, then yes, you're correct. But I believe that with ITC becoming what it is and how it's evolving and growing, there needs to be ITC regs for participating in an ITC event, such as, what'll happen if you're disqualified for time and stuff like that. If we're going to take it that competitively,
Right.
then it needs to be respected as a competitive event, which is going to mean disqualifying rubrics. Is it
Right.
fair? In the long run, it will be. Is it fair for the individuals who will get ruled against? Well, no, but then again, we've all watched NFL and the rest do what they want to do. But at the grand scheme of it, it'll help the majority out. And if people realize ahead of time going into events that could be a disqualifier, then there should be no issue, whatever money they paid or distance they've flown to go to that event. That's what I think.
Sure. And I understand. I definitely understand wanting to keep the people that are, making the event happen. Their customers, keep them happy. Um, but yeah, if games are going 3 turns or 2 turns, um, at 2.5 hours, there should be some sort of, not just a warning.
Even if it was something that like, hey, if a game ends and it's third turn, when it ends, then the game is automatically a tie between both players, and that's it.
Sure. Or so, I don't know.
But that's an idea.
and
it would discourage people from slow playing to win, because they're gonna be like, well, if I slow play, it's gonna be a tie. Now that could benefit others who are losing. So that's not, like that's not really gonna help everything, but it's an idea. Regardless.
Yeah. There's also, I saw a scoring rubric floating around that, after when you were filling out the points, it's like, did this game come to a natural conclusion? 5, 6, or 7, and yes or no. No. What turn did you get? And then there was a negative points modifier based on how many turns you got, which probably isn't the best, the best response to slow playing, but it's better than limiting the points. I think it does penalize both players, which is bad.
Right.
But if I'm not the one that's slow playing, I'm not going to get dinged next time. I'm on game 2. So, and they had, if you had a certain number of dings on your record, you just got DQ'd. And it's not perfect, but there has to be some kind of middle ground between, micromanaging it to the point of a chess clock where you had 5 more minutes than I did on that turn, you got to speed it up, versus we're 2 hours into the game and we're still in the psychic phase of turn 1, like what's going on? So
absolutely.
I don't know.
The argument of, I just feel like the argument of, well, it's not fair to put that on other people in a tournament, seeing that we're just going out there for the event and spending all this money. No, I flat out do not agree with that. It's, if you know you're going to a competitive event, if you know there's standards, if you know that there's regs, and you decide to go, then you should not harbor any harsh feelings against any rulings that happen within that, unless it's actually unjust in your favor or against your favor, which those are actually going to be more rare of a case than what people really realize. You're not going to have TOs coming out of nowhere and just completely disqualifying you throughout events. That's not a normal thing.
DQing someone is a serious thing. So, get warned 3 times, or I don't know, something, but it wasn't happening at LVO, and because there isn't really a rubric for it, so it was just like, hey, speed up. So their idea would, lower the points was noble, but it got shot down. People don't like change, so stays at 1850, and then we will move forward, hoping to figure out a best way to combat slow play. I know at my tournaments, it's gonna be taken very seriously. If someone comes to me and there's 20 minutes left and they're like, hey, we got 3 turns in, we're going to have a talk. So, they also, there was a vote to change it, to add in more detachments. So the vote was, do you want to keep it at 3? Do you want to add it to 4, or do you want unlimited? I think that was the...
it's the unlimited.
That scared me a little bit. I voted to keep it at 3. I think it gets janky at unlimited, because you can just start doing
that opens the door to severe min-maxing with formation boosts.
I don't know. It ultimately, like, the meta would balance out, so it's kind of silly. But I voted for 3. It stayed at 3. I'm sure a lot of people were just like, knee-jerk reaction. Scary change.
Yeah, I voted for 4, but I also voted for 1650. I did that for armies that are having, with the idea of armies that are having a harder time right now in metas, to where they can get extra allied boosts and stuff like that. Like, I know that's gonna help your stronger lists, like your Necrons, your Eldar, your Demons, your Tau. But I was thinking more on the side of, like, well, what about Imperial Guard? What about Orcs? What about Tyranids?
Tyranids don't benefit from it because they can only take 1 multiple and they can't ally. So
No. I was thinking Gene Stealer Cult.
okay, sure, yeah.
I was thinking about that. I didn't know what the rules were, but I was
The new
thinking, well,
stuff.
that coming out. We
Mhm.
already know it was going to be an ally thing for Tyranids, so it's like, well, if it's lower points but more detachments, that means they can bring in more Gene Stealer Cult stuff and still have their flying hive tyrants, which would give them a better edge. So
Yeah.
that's stuff I was thinking about when I voted for 4.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So that's that. 3 detachments still for the next season. They voted for the ITC faction ruling. So like how your faction was declared. And previously it was I got Grey Knights, I got Space Marines, and I have Inquisitorial. I want to go for best Grey Knight. Well, I got Drago and a minimum allied detachment, and then everything else is from a Gladius Strike Force or something like that, right?
Yep.
But I could declare it as Grey Knights because I was going for best Grey Knight, which was a little bit silly. It struck me as a little bit odd. There's definitely um, the possibility for people to game that system, right?
Totally.
But now they changed it. The vote flew through to the faction will be determined by the detachment with the most amount of points, which I think is the best case scenario there. Like if I'm playing all Eldar and I throw in an Inquisitor in my list, I shouldn't be able to say I'm playing Inquisition or what is it, Armies of the Imperium.
That one is such a glaringly obvious answer that it's
Yeah, but
the majority.
I think it just was like something that slipped past them last year, and it's probably been on their docket this whole time, and it just was the time to vote. So
Yeah, absolutely.
you want to read off the next one?
Yeah, so the next vote was yes to Chaos Knight with legacies. I disagree with that one, but I it's beyond just the 2-up invul Knight thing. It's not even that. It's literally how it's worded. And I thought that's pretty obvious to me because if the legacy says it can't be given to a demon engine, and then it gives references to things like what was it, like the brass scorpion and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And that unit doesn't even have, demon engine as its special rule. It just has demon forged or whatever. It's something totally differently worded, just like the chaos knight. But yeah, for some reason it can't take legacies, but the knights can't. It's just kind of like whatever. That's what that is. I think is just it's a way to crutch in something for chaos because chaos is having such a hard time, which I'm cool with. It's just
Chaos Space Marines or Chaos Demons?
Marines.
Okay,
That's what I think. That's what I think. Why that the reaction to that is it's still a yes because people who want to play Chaos Marines can now ally in a Chaos Knight and give it legacies, and now they have a strong center.
sure.
That's what I think, which I can understand
I'm
why that
cool. I'm
is. It's
cool with
just
it.
yeah,
It is whatever. They voted no on the Eldar Corsair jet bike shooting and then running and over or it's what is it called?
their jump thing.
Reckless abandon.
Yeah,
So their rule says if they get shot at, they can basically run. Um, reckless abandon.
yep.
So the question was, does that allow them to do that in Overwatch? Um, I don't know. They voted no. I'm reading these comments, and a lot of people are unhappy. Um, but why I don't play Corsairs, so whatever.
I think yeah.
It seems like a rules interpretation rather than a like a nerf, but people are kind of flipping out about the interpretation being unnecessary because of how quote apparent, you know, it it people are saying it didn't really need just didn't need interpretation. So
Hmm.
oh well. Um,
But whenever I hear an Eldar ruling that works against them and people are complaining, I just go, it's okay. You have the rest of your codex.
it's Corsairs though, so it's the Forge World one.
I know.
So it's
I'm
obvious it's not the weakest of the Eldar um, quartet right now. So I mean it's not Harlequins, but they're definitely they're kind of the neglected stepbrother.
yeah,
um, one that didn't make it on here, but I'm gonna call it right now because if it doesn't happen, I've lost faith in the ITC family. Um, the toe-in cover for gargantuan monstrous creatures.
Yeah, that one's obvious.
It's gonna be such a landslide. It's funny. So the vote was: do we want to require gargantuan monstrous creatures to have 25% obscurement to gain cover, basically just like they're a vehicle.
Yep.
As it's written, as it's ruled, it's not an interpretation. It's just the rules that they can toe into cover. Be in in a patch of trees or next to a ruins, and they gain the full benefit of that cover, which is hilarious. And this is
Well,
coming from a guy who plays a Wraith Knight in every Eldar list he builds.
so and I'm just gonna make a real quick notation on that based on rules as written, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you cannot place a model into a piece of terrain or whatever if its base cannot let it physically fit. Now, wobbly model syndrome is only if it's because on such an angle it'll cause the model to fall over.
Sure.
That's not an excuse to where you can just put a model up on top of a building all catty corner and be like, oh, wobbly model, but he's there. No, if he can't actually fit, he cannot go there.
Sure, but the way that most ITC terrain is built is that it's built with a base.
Oh yeah, no.
And
no,
the way that most people play them is if you're standing on the base, if it's an L-shaped building, then the whole base is a ruins.
Right.
So that's where it gets shady, because my Wraith Knight can barely touch the tip of that base and gain a 4+ cover save while he stands loud and proud in the middle of the table.
It's because his toe hit a brush.
Right.
No. This was the comparison is that even super heavy walkers have to be 25% covered.
Sure, but they're vehicles.
Right.
Right.
But that's
so I understand. I understand the rule. Like, it's a monster. They're agile. They dive. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's garbage. I'm hoping, and I play a Wraith Knight. This is coming from a guy who plays with Wraith Knights. I think it's silly that I get that cover save. So if I'm really sure that that's gonna happen. That vote change.
Yeah, I agree. It's just not needed for them. They're already an extremely tough unit. Most gargantuan creatures are pretty tough. Now, like barbed hair duel and stuff, yeah, they kind of needed that because they're already kind of a weaker of the super heavies, but that also
it definitely lowers the amount of Wraith Knights even that we will see on the board. Like Centurions just eat them up, so the cover save was the thing that I had to have.
Right.
So it'll definitely, if I play Eldar this season, if I play it ever, it'll definitely change the way I'm thinking about building my list. I might rely more on invisibility or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a good change. I think that needed to happen for the balance of the game.
I agree.
Excuse
but
me.
with that, I will say, if any of you guys out there are playing a game and someone does have a Wraith Knight or Barbed Hair Duel, and they try to land it on a little ledge of a ruined building but can't actually physically place it there and just say, oh, well, he's right there, that is actually against the rules. Just throwing that out there. I've seen it happen, and I saw it happen at OVO, and people didn't know it. And it's like, nah, wobbly model syndrome is only if it makes you feel cautious about it sitting there, but it has to still physically fit.
Yeah.
So.
You want to take a quick break and then get into the new missions?
Yeah, I go for some rum. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Mother Nature just pissed her pants, dude!
I ate his liver with some fava beans. A nice Chianti.
They've done studies, 60% of the time it works.
every time.
We're back, and we have some exciting things to talk about. The ITC 2016 mission scenarios are out in beta. I think that they are going. They're going to be in beta for another couple of weeks. Mid-March, they will hopefully be formally accepted and used. I'm excited to use them for what is it? March, April? April's tournament at Mugu. But
Yeah,
let's talk about what they are.
I love these. I love how it changed.
The biggest change, I'm just going to jump down to it, is during the modified Maelstrom missions. It says at the beginning of each player turn, the controlling player rolls 3 times on the scenario Maelstrom table. Reroll any duplicate numbers until 3 unique numbers are generated. The controlling player then decides which 2 of the 3 objectives they will attempt to achieve. That's awesome.
It gives you a chance to respond.
We'll jump down here. It says if the controlling player opts to forgo both of their Maelstrom points to attempt a 3-point Maelstrom objective, they must inform their opponent after generating their mission points, their Maelstrom points. This is an all or nothing choice. So basically, the 3 that you rolled, you can say I'm going to pick 2 of these for 2 points.
Yep.
Or I'm down. It's the last quarter and I gotta score big. So I'm gonna try to score 3 points.
So the comparable of these 2 changes and what it does is, for one, the missions were random, but to a point to where it was hard to make a tactic based off your Maelstrom missions.
Mm-hmm.
So there was certain lists, like especially lists that didn't have pods in them, that they would get certain Maelstrom objectives, like be in enemy deployment zone, repel enemy deployment, be on objective marker 2 in your enemy's deployment zone, and they didn't have the mobility to match that, which always made it like if it happened to you in the first 2 turns, you were hosed. You knew you couldn't make it up.
Right.
So one, it gives you a chance to somewhat choose what your Maelstrom's going to be, which is awesome.
Yep.
And if you do get, say you roll all 3 dice and say that you do get the objective marker 2 in your enemy's deployment zone, and then also get in your enemy's deployment zone and whatever, and you can't achieve any of them, you just say, fuck it, I'm gonna get rid of this and I'm gonna go for the 3-pointer.
Yeah.
You can do that. Or say it's turn 5 and you're down on Maelstrom by 1 point. You can go all in for that 1 3-pointer to make sure you have a secured lead in it.
Yep.
I love it. That is awesome.
I'm stoked for it. I'm trying to find the exact wording, but it also says or has people scoring their Maelstrom missions at the beginning of their turn, not at the end of the game turn.
Mm-hmm.
So that means going second, particularly as an Eldar player, is not the most is not the most brutal thing to your opponent. They always have a turn to blow you off of your objectives. Going second isn't the end all strategic move.
Nope.
So
now you got things like your scat pack lists that are gonna be trying to dive around and get cover. Well, if they go against the battle company list, now the battle company guys got a chance to drop pods right next to those bikes and shoot them off objectives.
Yep.
Like you got that opens up so many things that were before a for sure tactic that are now a complete variable, and it's going to be a case by case, game by game basis, and that alone will change lists.
Yep, and I'm super excited about it. As written, and this came up in our team chat. As written, if the game ends on turn 5, you won't score turn 5, because you scored at the beginning of the next turn.
Yep.
But I think that that's an oversight. I believe that they're gonna say if the game ends on turn 5, score it at the end of that.
Yeah. And I think they brought that up actually in their I think Reese and Frankie brought that up in their podcast. Like they talked about how what would happen if the person who has player second turn on 5th turn, they go second and 5th turn and it ends, and then I believe Reese made a comment there where it's like, well, if that we'll have to change the wording, but if that happens, that person scores as regular because obviously the other person can't respond and the game's over.
Sure. Okay.
So there is a slight edge, and I believe he did make mention of that in his podcast.
Okay,
last
good. I missed it. But that's good. I was sure that it was just an oversight, and that's why they have rules in beta.
Yep.
For the community to kind of dissect and say, hey, this sounds weird. But the missions are also, they're similar enough to what we know and love. But there's the fact that you're rolling 3 and picking means, like for my army, if I was playing Eldar, I'm gonna destroy units or hold objectives. Like those are what my army is good at. So if I'm hoping for destroying things or holding, and if I have the ability to choose, I'm gonna get what I can achieve far more often. So I think you're gonna see higher scoring games too. It's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, the one I'm always thinking of is like with the Maelstrom of rolling. What was it? Is it the scouring where you can get the one where it's like have 3 of yours and none of your opponents in your deployment zone?
Yeah,
Is that the
good
scouring
luck.
mission?
Good
Yeah, I
luck.
hate that. Whether it's War Convocation or I do Salamander Drop Pod Army, either way, I hate that. I hate that Maelstrom mission because I'm usually never going to get it because everybody's midfield.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice to be able to know that if I roll it up, there's a pretty good chance I can go, nope, I'm not
Yep.
taking that one.
Yep. And there are going to be times where you roll it, because it'll be on 2 different numbers or something, and you'll roll it and have it both, and it'll just be a thing that you have to have it. But
Right.
most times, this roll 3 dice is going to be super beneficial, so I'm very excited about it.
But the other part of that too is it's not always going to be a scenario where you roll 2 of the same kind and you just get stuck with it because then I could just change it out for my third one that I know I can get for sure and get 3 points.
Yeah, totally.
Like that's the thing. Like you're not actually going to be stuck with only one option. You will always have a second option, which is awesome.
Yep. Yeah. So that was that. We just wanted to update that a little bit. As soon as this hit, I got a flood of messages saying, "Can we please? Are we using these for the March 5th tournament at Mugu?" And I was like, "I would love to, but I'm sorry. We posted this almost a month ago. I'm not going to change the rules last minute. So believe me, Mugu guys, I want to use the new rules. I do not like tournaments that change rule sets last minute, so I'm not going to do that to my players. But we will be using the new ITC stuff, the new missions in next month's April's tournament. So that's going to be fun.
Maybe this tournament, I won't be there, but maybe for this tournament, like you can have the grand prize be whoever wins it gets a giant wheel of cheese to like adios to the old missions. Like just get a giant wheel of Swiss or like cheddar or Gouda and just be like, whoever wins gets the giant block of cheese from last year to christen it off.
Okay, maybe that would, and then we could bring wine and just have a little after party.
Yeah, like no, like oh, dude, that'd be a perfect prize, man. A giant wheel of cheese and a little bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Adios to 2015.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't have too much left to talk about. Well, we did want to update everybody on some of the recent changes that have been going on with the Wolfkin. You want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So we are, for one, as Wolfkin as a whole, are growing. Many of you who follow us have seen that we have a new Facebook page. If you have seen that, maybe you've gone into our website. The website has totally changed, and we're planning on growing that even further. We're going to start having an active blog. We have a link to our now newly open forums, which is really exciting. We're going to be having a lot of activity there in the foreseeable future. But with that, we also want to announce for anybody in the Seattle area, we are going to start a 30K escalation league being hosted by Mugu. This is going to be a interesting league because for one, it's not entirely competitive. This is more of a interest into the hobby that is heresy, and also it's going to be a rolling narrative to keep in the spirit of 30K. So what does that mean? For one, it's going to be a very involved league. It's not going to be a matter of X versus Y. We will be hosting the league through our forums. as well as posting missions and posting the um, pairings of who fights who. We will be starting out at 750 points. This will be announced in our forums here in the next 2 weeks. You'll probably see it going into effect April 1st, which I think is hilarious. April Fools.
We're all gonna find out that this was some elaborate hoax.
Yeah, like the whole thing was just planned out.
The long con.
Just to get everybody to buy Forge World. That was pretty much all it was there for.
Yeah.
But essentially, what it's going to be is we're gonna walk through the books. We're gonna go from Betrayal is Vaughn 3, and we're gonna work our way up. It's going to be a monthly updated league, 2-rounder, and it's going to increase every month by 250 points, which for Heresy is not a fast growth. That is maybe a unit.
Slow grow.
It's a slow grow.
Slow grow league.
But with that, like I said before, we're going to be hosted on our forums. You can find that link at our website, thewolfkin.com. When you get enlisted for the league, we will need you to register with the forums, obviously, and then we'll have a sticky poll up for the league where people can register their legion and their allegiance, whether they're going to be traitor or loyalist. When you register, you will always be fighting against your foe, which is really crucial for later games when you start tooling out your list, because there are war gears or legion traits that are specific towards another faction type, whether it be traitor or loyalist. So if you're a loyalist, you'll always fight against traitor always against loyalist. Now with that, we know there's going to be an influx of either loyalist or traitors, and we'll have to ask some people to be able to be open to the idea of doing either. For the sake of the league, so that way things match up. But regardless, missions will be posted on the forum, and as people complete their games, which will have essentially a 2-week period to finish your games, which I think is pretty lenient for time wise. You contact your player, your opponent. You guys set up when you're going to play. You play your game at Mugu, and then you post your results, or you give them to Ryan because obviously he'll be there, and then we'll post them on the forum, and that'll start creating a storyline of what actually happened in all those engagements, and we'll start initiating those into the missions. All the missions will be from the Forge World books. They will all be Heresy missions. They will not be ITC mission based. And as well as not only the league growing in the hopes of people wanting to get involved and wanting to flush out their Heresy interest, I will also be posting a lot of articles on how to start Heresy, where to go with Heresy, how to make the most out of the Betrayal of Calth box set, some interesting points about how to save money when you're getting into the Heresy, like what I keep saying before, the difference between Mars and Demos pattern vehicles, and so on and so forth, to help those people wanting to get started.
Yeah, Rob is a fountain of knowledge on 30K stuff. This is totally his baby, so he's running with this. He's running it, but we're very excited for the league. I'm stoked. I'm gonna play in it. Hopefully we'll see some good support of this, because I know the community is growing.
Yeah, and I mean it's fun to have something like this where it's not a matter of I have to win because I'm going to be the winner. There is going to be no final best player. It's going to be a team. Did the loyalists win or did the traitors win? And it's going to have an ongoing story of the engagements and stuff. And you're going to have a lot of legions split off from the Isfahan situation, or like if we have Imperial Fist and Ultramarine stuff, they're going to be fighting their own wars somewhere else. So it's going to be really, really cool, and I really, really hope that people will, shoot us a message, get involved. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So go ahead.
Well, and I was also going to make a point too, for those who are unsure if you're wanting to participate or not, or thinking that the points level is too high, just as a ballpark for anybody wanting to get into it, the Betrayal of Calth box, with the units they provide and the war gear you can give them, can round out to be a 1,250 point list. So if you want to know the volume or the scope of what you're going to have to do hobby wise to get started, it's actually really minimal because of how expensive war gear is.
Yeah, that was something that that was a stumbling block for me as a barrier to entry. But once you kind of look into it, it's like, oh, okay, this is way more manageable.
Yep.
But one thing I did want to mention is as we've done in the past at Mugu leagues, is this is traders versus loyalists, and we want to know, essentially we want to know who's best. So if you're coming out to fight for your team at the end when it's over, we're gonna paint either a traitor Chaos Star or loyalist Imperial Aquila on the wall of Mugu, up next to the other one. The last time we did a league, Chaos won. So we want to see if Chaos can keep that going. We'll put up another star up on the wall, or see if the Imperials, the loyalists, can take that back. So it's gonna be cool. You're fighting for the honor and something that's gonna be put on Mugu to show everyone who's really ruling the place.
Yep. And with that too, we'll have it posted on the forum, so everybody can reference it. But there are some things about the league that I will like to address now before we get started, just for anybody that's interested in it, they know what they're getting into. The rules for the league are going to be different than what you see for a usual competitive league. The requirements are going to be more hobby focused than they are army focused. Because that's really what the heresy is more about. It's not a game heavy game, it's a game and hobby game, and it leans heavily on the hobby side. And you will find that out as you will go through your rules. You'll see weird little rulings that Forge World makes, but they'll say things like this unit must be resemblance of the units resembled in the artistry in the book, or this unit must be obviously different from any other unit painted wise, or et cetera, et cetera. We will be requiring armies to be painted to match their legion. Models used in the heresy do not need to have heresy quote unquote marked armor, but the units need to be comparable WYSIWYG to what the units are supposed to be in their books.
Yeah.
That's actually highly stressed because of the amount of different varieties of units that are power armored. Even between your breachers and your tacticals and your reconnaissance squads, they look very similar, but there are some modeling differences that stand them apart, and that really affects how they play in the game. So that's very, very much needed as a ruling. But beyond that, it's just a matter of getting involved in the story, get involved with the heresy, kick each other's butts, and have fun.
It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, stay tuned for check out those forums for more information. Rob's gonna have a post up there soon. Just to recap, check out the website, thewolfkin.com. Check out the new improved Facebook page. We changed from a closed group to an open, try to catch more people. It's facebook.com/thewolfkin. And then the new forums, which just went up this week. Please check those out, register, especially if you're interested in that 30K league. The link is off of our website, and it's just the forums tab. You just click that button, and it sends you right there.
Yep. And please make a habit, if you're interested, to keep checking out the website, because we are constantly growing, and we do have some plans in the future for more growth and content. So stand by and keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're wrapping up. It's been another good episode. We asked for questions. Sorry, I'm coughing all day today. We asked for questions, but I asked kind of late, so we really only got one from Pickle, and he asks. This might take a while for debate, but he asks, if you could have a badger or a wolf, which one would you choose?
Well, I honestly like the badger because it doesn't give a
You're
shit.
fired.
It takes what it wants.
Okay,
It takes what
folks. So
Well,
just
wait,
letting you know that we have an open second chair for the podcast. It looks like that 30K league will be canceled because the guy who's supposed to be a wolf brother would choose a badger instead of a wolf. What?
Honey badger don't give a shit. He just takes what he wants.
We're the wolfkin.
And you got a guy who's a Drake. Come on, who's a tech priest? A tech priest Drake badger. All right. I'm a mechanical reptile mammal.
So it looks like it's split 50-50 here. Pickle. One vote wolf, one vote badger.
We're We're basically pug monkey baby, basically.
Don't
That was
talk to
disturbing.
me about that.
We also got a question from Alex Chobot as well.
Did we?
Yep. If a space marine could marine space, how much space could a space marine?
3.
My answer to you is exterminatus.
Oh, that's probably more accurate than 3. All right, guys. With those riveting questions answered, and the talk of ITC wrapped up, I will say goodbye. Have a good week. We will talk to you in another couple of weekends.
Shall return. Remember, stay strong in the wolf pack, everybody.
See you guys later.
Later.